You're in the rant wormhole where I rant about whatever my $15 a month plus patrons want me to rant about. You can get one of these by becoming one of those. This one is for Epiphanies. It's like 20 letters in this guy's name. Rant about your defining moments and epiphanies. Oh man. I remember as a kid having more of those kinds of things. Watching Evangelion or Haruhi were kind of defining moments and epiphanies in and of themselves, just the experience of it. I would say the biggest one ever, and I've talked about it before, is when I was 16, having this moment where I decided that because I had been suicidal for a long time and depressed, I kind of came to this conclusion that the only way life was going to be worth living is if I lived it exactly how I wanted to. That, I was not going to accept anything else but, I wasn't going to work a normie job. I wasn't going to, participate in what society was telling me to if I didn't want to. It was my way or the highway, because why else bother living if you're not going to be happy with doing it, I don't want to have to curtail anything about myself. And while I have, I've become more lenient, I've become more capable of handling things I don't want to do, like 300 rants in the span of a couple days. Nonetheless, I have more, kind of lived by that coda ever since. So that's probably the biggest defining revelation I've had. Let me think of any others. I'm not somebody who's, all the time shifting my mentality that strongly. I think there's a pretty linear progression across my life. It's not so much like some big thing happens and I change gears completely. There might be, smaller epiphanies or revelations about things like how to handle my content, or, what I consider good, or... God, I feel like the most epiphanies I've had have been in regards to how I structure a favorites list. If you go back through my anime blog, you'll see way more of this. Because I was blogging from ages, 15 to 20 was when I was really doing my anime blog in full swing. And at that time, I would write about... maybe 60% of my posts were actually about anime. The rest of it was, personal blog posts and shit. And, I wrote a lot about whatever revelations I was having. And I would often write about, new ways of considering how to score shows, or about new ways of structuring favorites lists, or new ways of thinking about yourself as an otaku. So if you go through that, you'll find a bunch of that kind of shit. But, I can't really... I'm trying to think of anything I would consider a mind-blowing revelation I've had about myself, or epiphany. I did have kind of something akin to an epiphany last summer when I discovered this concept of that the part of your brain that generates speech is not the same part as the part that actually intakes information and understands it. Your personality is in a different part of your brain from the part that communicates, and realizing that made me finally understand really the idea of aesthetics and why they kind of exist, the idea of things that can't be put into words, and of having understandings that you cannot phrase, And it just helped me to understand my own mind a lot better, and to be able to embrace, other sides of myself. Can you think of anything that I've said since we've been together that's, some revelation or epiphany I've had? Big turning point in the way I think, or anything like that? Or anything that you saw in a video you watched before we got together? I'm really struggling to think of a big epiphany. I know I've had tons of small epiphanies, but they're probably all cataloged if they did happen. Well, she ain't got nothing and I ain't got nothing, so there's your epiphanies. When I was 16, that's probably the biggest one.